Hi. Hello. It's How It May Be Me with Sarah Maybe. This is an episode I am calling In the Seat of the Self. And it is for a lot of different people, but the net of it is um, for if you are a person who finds that you can't really ground yourself in being justified in your own feelings. So, one thing when I was training, when I had a supervisor, when I was a therapist for a brief moment in time, my supervisor, I would always get this feedback. I would get really lost in the content. That was the phrase. Don't get lost in the content. When I would be working with a client, I would get so consumed with the issue and I would get stuck in the issue that they were stuck in themselves. I'd be like, "Well, but that guy can't do this, and he's not. What should she say to so and so?" And like, "Well, he's going to say blah blah blah." And the feedback meant step back, like you're getting lost. You have to step back and like see the issue from afar and see where you really need to intervene based on all of the circumstances. And if you are a person who's getting lost in the content, I would say your first step is to step back and see the situation from afar, which is really hard to do if it's your life and if it's your partner or if it's something that's like super based in a loop of reactivity. So, first step is just recognize the issue that is happening. And if you are a person who is struggling to keep a handle on your own beliefs in the face of a relationship, like a romantic relationship, a parental relationship, a relationship with your child, this episode is for you. It'll hopefully give you some perspective or a little bit of distance so you can actually see where you need to, quote, intervene. So, in general, for whatever it's worth, a lot of my clients tend to struggle with self validation. And that means that for me, it means that they just struggle with a lack of self ownership, meaning I don't feel valid. I don't feel like I'm allowed to have these feelings, or a constant questioning of, is this okay for me to feel this way? Am I right? Are they right? And or they need somebody else to help them make decisions. They don't know if they're making the right decision. Constant self-questioning, which, if that sounds true for you, it is often in part because of a consistent reinforcement of that questioning by other people outside of you. So I just want to ask you that question. Do you have people around you who are constantly saying like, you don't know what you're doing, you don't have a right to think those things? That that actually might be totally invisible to you if that is happening. It might be coming from a totally loving place that you don't even question. Like if you're an adult and you have a parent who is keeping you from what they call like individuation because maybe they enjoy having you in their lives, they enjoy being in the role of provider, they enjoy you relying on them, and therefore it's just that loop is being constantly reinforced. That loop might be more about them than about you. It also might be like they genuinely do see you as a child. It's not even manipulation. It's just they cannot stop acting in that role because it's the only role they've ever known with you. Regardless of where that reinforcement is coming from, it could be also a partner that wants to keep you kind of reliant. Even if it's coming from a loving place, it becomes really toxic and unhealthy when it prevents you from growth. And if you have a light inside of you that wants to grow, if you have strengths that are coming out and health and independence that are coming out and they're suppressing that, it is not healthy. It's not loving anymore because you have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and be the boss of yourself and thrive. That is the goal of life. It's the goal of growth. If this is resonating with you, but it's coming from the opposite side, like maybe you are a parent and you are kind of treating a child in the same way, just for whatever it's worth, know that your goal is to teach your children to be confident and to trust themselves and to learn how to fail and be on their own and live through things and survive them and feel good about their decision making. We want to encourage them to fly and think freely and confidently, not question themselves and feel stupid about their decisions. It's hard to promote that freedom and it's hard to let go, especially if you really want them to stay with you and stay relying on you. If there's some part of you that is wanting that, but that is love, is to want what is best for someone. When we feel insecure and we are second guessing ourselves, it is a an ambivalent and torturous loop that kind of just, you know, nothing in life feels right oftentimes. And it can make you feel like you're constantly in a spin. You know, you're looking for that grounding. We can't get back to, it's like we're trying to solve a problem and it's just like a constant loop of questioning. So the truth for us becomes elusive. Like, but what do I want? What is the truth? What is the best thing for me? What is the right thing to do? We keep thinking and overthinking and thinking again and thinking, but maybe I'm wrong. Am I wrong? Should I not be asking for these things? And if you're in that spin, if that sounds true for you, what we need to recognize in the moment of that feeling is you're getting lost in the content. You need to step back from the issue. The hyper focus is in part what is causing the blindness. Like the just like a border collie staring at a dot on a wall. You're like, is it gonna move? Is it gonna move? Is it gonna move? We need the space and we need to get into a new frame relating to the world, meaning a wider perspective that allows us to see ourselves in a grander scheme. And the answer will arrive. And the short of the answer will be you absolutely have a right to feel your feelings and you absolutely aren't crazy. But if you're in the spin, a very specific unmet need is being triggered. Just like this very specific button is being pushed by the situation. And oftentimes, if it's a partner, that button is being pushed because it's a power move. So it's a way to disarm you. So, in practical terms, what I mean is you need to ask yourself, how can I back up and expand? How can I help myself connect to perspectives outside of my bubble of hyperfocus? Invite God into the equation. And with that, this is an episode with three parts. Well, the what, the why, and the how, the tools. Part one, the what. Not trusting your own opinion. Maybe you're not being treated as a person who is trustworthy by those in your life. Maybe your opinions and decisions are being overruled by those who love you. And this could be a parent, could be a partner, could be a less than ideal situation that you are stuck in for reasons beyond your control. You know, maybe you're trying to make something work for a child, or you're stuck in a job with someone who is irrational. Whatever the situation is, you find yourself constantly seeking outside reinforcement for grounding. And just you need that tether of like, am I crazy? I'm not crazy, right? My needs are valid. My beliefs are valid, right? And in that moment, you might feel like the whatever assault or whatever conflict is obvious. Like you might be like, this is crazy. Why do you not see my perspective? Why am I fighting for this validation? It's just obvious. Like it might feel like you're in crazy land. Part two, the why. It could be partly just a lack of individuation or a lack or insecurity, and you might just not fully have solved self-trust yet. So like there's this single step that hasn't been taken where you say, I stand by me. That's like the missing step, which means there's kind of this always lingering question in the back of your mind as to whether you are valid or if you have the right to feel what you feel. And that lack of taking that step can come about when you don't go through a self-realization period of your life in young adulthood. A lot of people don't. A lot of people just, you either get in a relationship really early or you stay reliant on your parents for a very long time. This means that you are constantly kind of compromised by the opinion of another person. So their beliefs kind of overstep yours in your own mind. And that might be because you share a reality with someone else. Like you're constantly being kind of told that your beliefs are not true or your feelings aren't valid, or your partner is the more dominant one in, who controls finances, and they control all the parameters of the way your life is set up. So it's you have to rely on them in some way. Or you are a person who is really, really close with your parents and they are kind of dominant in your life in the same way. Also, you could be in a relationship with a person who is narcissistic in some way, or they're insecure, which makes them very manipulative. People who are insecure are constantly trying to control the actions of other people because they want to make sure they don't abandon them or highlight their insecurities. Or you might be with someone who's really selfish. Regardless, you feel that the person that you're having conflict with should see and respect you more than they actually do in practice. And so that loop of trying to convince them constantly and validate your feelings constantly is where you get stuck. And the loop will take different shapes and different forms, but it's always the same conversation. Why can't you see me? I'm hurting. Why can't you see my feelings? This is crazy. Why can't you see that this is offensive? This is insane. This is obvious. Why can't you see it? Like you're constantly baffled by whatever conflict that arises. And so why do you get into this battle in the first place? Uh, from a growth perspective, it could be that you just didn't get out of the house or see yourself as a complete adult just yet. So you can think of it kind of like having a weak ego, in that we just didn't fully finish the development in that area. And it might have happened because you grew up being kind of a parent yourself and didn't get the validation you needed then. So maybe you took care of your parents growing up. And when you put somebody else's needs above your own for a really long time, they their life and their priorities and the needs of others kind of dominate our own needs. And so we learn to not look inward. We learn not to see our own feelings or validate our own feelings. If that's not true for you, fear not. You can grow now if any of that resonates. It might be your time right now if you are asking these types of questions. Regardless of the past, if you are in a loop right now in a relationship, it's really hard to see your situation from inside of it, especially if it's a romantic relationship. It's even harder because patterns they're very automated. Like, and the responses, it's almost like I would describe it as you have lots of buttons on your body, and this other person knows exactly how to press them. And they're invisible to you, but they know exactly how to press the button that plays, hey, I didn't do that on purpose, or the defensiveness. They know how to react, make all of your defenses come up. And so it's really hard in a romantic relationship to get out of reactive loops where you are engaging in the same conversation of crazy and the same defensive dance over and over again. So even though you think you are thinking outside of a bubble, or your goal is to think outside of this reactive bubble, when you are triggered by one of those buttons getting pressed, you will find yourself on the back foot again and again, arguing reality at the other person. And so it's very, very difficult to get grounding unless you plug up cover all the buttons and plug up all the holes. There's more on this in the tools, but I think of, especially if you are being triggered and you are being manipulated, your only power lies in removing access to yourself. It's not going to be won with an argument. It's not going to be won with a battle of egos. It's only going to be won when you get enough distance to protect your physical body and your physical space and access to your mind Your eyes, your ears, your heart, your soul, all of it needs to have the access removed. That's the only way to escape it. And that is shitty. It feels like, oh, well, what am I supposed to do? Move? Maybe. Literally, maybe that is the solve. It is very, very hard to escape a relationship where you're being controlled and manipulated or caused to react to somebody else, like you're trapped in reactions. Anyway, more on that in the next section, part three, the how, the tools. But first, a brief word from our sponsors. Okay, part three, the how, the tools. If I wanted to say, first of all, if you think this is the result of having a weak ego, and I don't mean that as a diss, I just mean like if we don't develop our ego strength enough, we just have to be aware of that and work around that. I remember, let me just describe what that feels like. I remember when I was in college and I went to this bar in Silver Lake in Los Angeles. I was sitting there and there was this like old creepy dude who was very eccentric, who was basically trying to talk me into going to his house. And I was like, there's absolutely no way in hell that's going to happen. And I remember over the course of like 2 hours, he started to be affecting my brain. And I realized at a certain point, like, oh, wow, he could convince me to do this eventually if I don't remove my body from the situation because of my ego being weak at the time. I had not like been able to see my own strength yet. And so his manipulation was working and I was like, fuck, I gotta get out of here. That's just a like personal example, but like a very, very strong intellect can like somebody could be silver tongued and be very capable of manipulation. And that could be like their gift. And it doesn't mean that you're stupid. It doesn't mean that you're that you don't know what you want. It's just a thing that exists that we have to be aware of and navigate around based on that information. Like be smart about it. So if that sounds true for you, take note of that. It is super important information. It's almost the most relevant information in your situation. I have a lot of clients who are trapped in relationships like this. And I would, if that sounds true for you, if you think you're being controlled by manipulation, write that down on a post-it note. Keep it in a place that you can see it, that this other person can't see it, and know the truth. Don't forget that truth. You need to navigate from a place of this knowledge and know that you're not going to win if you are engaging directly with this person. Your power comes from distance, from sobriety from the relationship and distance to the person. Because once they have access to your mind, body, emotions, they can control and manipulate you. And often I think about that time when I was in college because I remember very clearly knowing I don't want to be in any place close to this person, and yet I can feel their ability to control me. So remember that other people control us just simply through us giving them access to our mind, body, spirit. They need the entry point. So if you are being controlled by someone, you need to start by separating and creating distance. Don't take phone calls, block them, block email, block do not give physical access. Don't engage. If they try and engage you in a conflict, think of it like you're a celebrity on the street and your gaze is nowhere. You are cannot be seen, you cannot hear them. That's basically the way to like you are Teflon and they're sliding off of you. And they are not allowed to enter in any shape or form. And others who are in situations that are similar to yours have gotten out of it, but it takes making really big, sweeping moves that feel like you're not going to be ready for them, but know that you eventually, the more distance you get, the more freedom you will have mentally. It feels like they're in our heads. It's almost like they are. And so it feels like you're constantly being played like an instrument. Like, I feel bad, I feel bad, I feel bad, I feel bad. That's the note that keeps playing. As soon as you get enough distance from the situation, your brain will recover and you will feel completely aware of what has happened, but it in the moment, it's just like start with getting a little bit of distance. If that sounds like your situation, the first tool is for you. I mean, this episode is not all for situations that are that severe, but I just wanted to put that in there because I know that that is so difficult. It's so difficult to get out of a situation like this. All right, first tool, plug up the boat holes. I think of it, all the buttons or the boat, whatever metaphor works for you. If you think about being trapped in the situation, the first and most important step is to plug up all the holes. Those are the leaking points that will keep you stuck. If you have that I feel bad tune playing in your head, you have to plug up all the infection points, remove access. I mean, literally remove access through your mind, your attention, your gaze, your physical proximity. You cannot know your own wants and dreams if somebody else is constantly pressing all of your buttons and controlling your actions. And therefore, like you might think, well, I must need them because I'm not doing anything better with my life and I'm not pursuing any of my other goals and I'm just relying on them. That's in part because you're being occupied. Somebody else is infecting your mind. You can't even access yourself when somebody is occupying half of your mind and controlling your thoughts. Like you might mistake your lack of drive for a real lack of ability or passion. It has nothing to do with that. It's because a large part of your energy is being squatted on right now. Next tool, don't argue with the crackhead. I I remember my days in Venice Beach, California, and there were so many moments of being around crack dens and being with crackheads. And I, one thing I recall the most is the shiny things. So there's a lot of collecting of shiny things. And if you are a person who is arguing with a partner in this loop, this crazy loop, I want you to think of it like you have just gone inside of a crack den and you are arguing with a crackhead. There, don't get lost in the content. There's nothing that is going to be solved when you're in that little loop. You are just talking about shiny things like, look at this shiny thing. I wonder if this connects to this little shiny thing. And don't get lost in that den. You're like in crazy town. You got to get out. You got to step back from the situation and you've got to see it from afar. Don't get lost in the content. Next tool, worth it or not. This is like my new game show I'm inviting you to be a part of. If you are a person who is in a situation that is not perfect, let's say it's a relationship that is based on circumstance, or it is a living situation, or I don't know, fill in the blank, imperfect but necessary situation. I know it can feel like you're just beating yourself up for how this thing is wrong and you shouldn't be doing it, or maybe parents or maybe friends are like, why are you doing that? It's so bad. And like, you shouldn't be blah, 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 like doing this degrading thing, whatever the thing is. Know that sometimes it is worth it. And that definition of worth it or not worth it will change every single day. And so if you're starting to beat yourself up or you're blaming yourself or others are blaming you for something being less than positive, just remember like you're going to hit a buzzer. Is it worth it or is it not worth it? Right now it's worth it because I want XYZ I want this thing out of it. It today is worth it for me. Tomorrow it might not be. The next day might not be either. But don't forget to ask that question consistently because some days it will not be worth it. And one day it might have finally tipped toward the other side of the scale and you'll be like, and now I'm done. But you get to answer that question for yourself. It'll always be its own weird, very human, and totally understandable, imperfect answer. But you're the only one that can answer it, and nobody else can answer it for you. And just remember, like, it's okay to have something for the reasons that you want to have them. That is something that you get to answer for your own life. All right, the next tool, identity is a process. Know that we are always honing and evolving and growing the definition of ourselves. And we're not going to get there by pretending we're not human. We're not going to get there by just stifling all that we are. We're going to get there through friction and moving through things and being messy sometimes and growing through not fun stuff at times and having hard conversations and sometimes having to walk away from situations that we really know are deep down not right for us and know that what makes you strong and helps you grow is being brave enough to move through all of it. So always have a focus on higher and self honor and love, and just know that that's the compass always. Have the focus on what you intend and not where you are falling short. And if you are in a situation right now where you know you have leaky boundaries or you're letting in riffraff and you're letting other people dictate the rules for you, that just means that your job is just to really focus on areas for growth. And if you are struggling with like what does it mean to grow and how can I take a step towards growth, I'm going to put a couple of books in the show notes of this episode, and I think they're a great starting point. By growth, I mean just like ingesting things that could improve you, being around sources of inspiration that broaden you, that get you outside of the tiny myopia loop that you're in. Anything that can be additive to your life is what I mean by growth. Any and all steps. It doesn't have to be specific to get a therapist. It could be anything that's in a direction of something positive. All right, the next tool, Rumpelstiltskin key. I don't know if you guys remember that story of Rumpelstiltskin. It I'm not going to tell the entire story, but the net of it is there's this little goblin dude, and they can be free of this really shitty situation that they are in if they guess his name. And so they go through this and they find this hunter guy. He goes and finds the hideout in the woods of Rumpelstiltskin, and he hears his name, and then he tells him the name, and he frees this princess, I think it is. Anyway, if there is something that is keeping you reliant on a shitty relationship that you know is not good for you, there is a key that you can hold on to and unearth that helps it to lose its power. And it'll be different for everybody. Like the key that will unlock that for you, it's something that's buried under some like sensitive, I don't want to look at it feelings, you know? Like we don't want to look at it and we don't want to admit it. But the key to unlocking your whatever's keeping you attached to a bad relationship is just going into the muck and finding it, going to the woods and ask, what am I getting out of this truthfully? What is the real motive in me that wants this, that is choosing this? And I say that because it'll be something very murky and like it'll be something we think secretly is true. That's part of the reason we don't want to look at it is we'll think, oof, it's icky, but it's true. It's actually not true. And that's why I want you to find it and unearth it so you can process and talk about it with somebody else. Because you can really see it from all sides, like a little key, when you can pull it out into the light. Oftentimes I find that it's a belief like, I need this person to feel good about myself, or I don't have anybody else to rely on, and I don't think I can stand on my own 2 feet, or it'll feel like this really scary imminent thing, but just pull it out, find it, talk about it, process it. It is the only thing keeping you in a state of somewhat inaction, even if all of these other things in your life are like trying to push you in a direction. Or, I'm not smart enough to stand on my 2 feet, or what if I fall? I don't know. All of those fears are really what keep us blocked in like the final chamber of change. All right, next tool Externalizing the pressures. This one, for me, feels like it would be obvious to a lot of people, but it's actually not. And it needs to be put out into the light. There are so many, this is like a version of the Rumpelstiltskin key. There are so many cultural pressures and expectations from everybody around you that infect our thinking around a relationship or what we're supposed to be doing with our lives or where we're supposed to be in our lives and what we need in order to be considered successful or healthy. And we don't even realize how much they impact us or how much they motivate our decision making. For example, constantly hearing like, are you gonna get married? Are you dating? That's like something that you might get from all the well-meaning people in your life, or you might get it from your parents, you might get it from literally every person you run into at a certain age. You also might be getting things like, oh, are you gonna have kids? Are you guys gonna have kids? Like it is uncanny how like instantly that will pop up as soon as you are in a committed relationship or as soon as you get married. And it's okay to not want any of those things. And it's also okay to find a new, totally different solve for any situation that you are in. Like you might actually want to be a single parent. You might actually not want children at all. You might actually want to be in an open relationship. Whatever the thing is, like allow yourself to be active in all facets of a choice you are making at this time in your life. And allow that to be justification to you emotionally. And if you are having any of these pressures in your own psyche, I mean, you'll get them from the outside inevitably. I want to know if you have them in your own psyche. Is there something in you that's saying like, tick, 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 you have to do a blank, you have to figure out blank? Is it feeling like it's haunting you? If so, journal about it. I want it to be external. And maybe just jot down all of the things that are possibly versions of pressures that are coming up. Like I think a great way to look for them and see what they are possibly coming from is to look at your family of origin. And like often we inherit them from our parents. So you can ask also in the journal entry, do I have a parent that felt defined by XYZ, by marital status, by success, by stuff, by weight, by number of kids, by fill in the blank. All right, next tool, life affirming. This is a, a, a fun tool. I think you will enjoy it. We absolutely need to have experiences on a regular basis that are life affirming. And by that, I mean that really reinforce and rejuvenate us, our own feeling, our own version of aliveness and thriving and energy. And it's easy to get into a state of, I'm going to just get everything done. I'm going to make sure there is sustenance being ingested by all in my life. I'm going to make sure things are clean and I'm going to make sure that all of the sleep is done and all of the teeth are brushed and to just get all the shit done. There is a totally different version of life that, at least in the US of A, I think a lot of us we forget exists, where it's like, you can be eating the best food in the world and you can be hearing the most original amazing music live and you can be experiencing a totally new inventive dessert and you can be exploring a gorgeous incredible location, and all of those experiences are life affirming and they are like spiritually refreshing and give us just such access to new energy and joy. And that is something we have to, A, remember exists. We just have to go find it. And B, make sure we are making normal in our life experience. That is normal for your life experience to have all of those things. It is common in lots of places to have those things all around you, but if you aren't aware of that, go out in the world and seek places where you can find those things because your entire mind and energy and everything about your awareness of the world changes when you have all of that channeling through you. All right. Next tool, pop the bubble. I mean, this is kind of all that I've talked about in the beginning of this episode, but when we are in this bubble of like the loop, it's really easy to just feel like there's no access to help and we have no power when we're inside of it. And so the first step is to remember you're in the bubble. If you're in a situation where you're like arguing and reacting off of this other person, step back. How can you come into an acceptance of reality and see it for what it is, see this loop for what it is, and get into an energy of autonomy? Like, how can you get into the energy where you are free to make decisions and see all of the information that is not currently accessible to you? And I think if you are feeling like I don't have access to that and I'm trapped in this little bubble, the first thing I want you to do is to be able to just mentally go through the exercise of entertaining what feels impossible. All of the things that are the most fear inducing, I want you to just mentally allow yourself to imagine all of those things happening. Willfully imagine what feels completely out of your range of ability. It's just a mental exercise. That's it. So, what do I mean by that? I mean, let's say you're in a situation and you're like, but I can't possibly leave it. I can't possibly break up with this person, or I can't possibly go out on my own. I can't possibly move away. I need all of them, or I can't, blah, blah, blah. Mentally, I want you to imagine I'm doing the thing. I get an apartment. I go find the apartment. I save up money for this amount of time. I then put in a request for blah, blah, blah. And, like, mentally go through all of those steps and imagine yourself doing it. And imagine yourself at the end of that experience being okay. That's all I want you to do. Just go through that mental exercise. It is possible for you and you are capable. But there's some part of you that is defining this thing as impossible because it's a part of our brain that's just risk adverse. It's saying, by default, I'm not going to open this can of worms, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. In fact, it probably will be happening a lot sooner than you think it is. It's just we have to push ourselves to go through the exercise mentally for the first time. All right, next tool, come back to the universal. If you are in a battle where you're so reactive and so like frustrated, but you're like, I don't understand, but like, do I have a right to think this thing? And like, am I crazy? And like, they were mean and they said this. Just come back to a universal definition of what would any person, any human have the right to expect. And I always think of it as like, what is basic human kindness? What is basic good treatment for a stranger? It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. What would you expect from a citizen to another citizen in a universal sense? Does a person expect in a relationship to be respected and treated as an adult? Yes. Does a person expect to have their wishes respected around their body or their property? Yes. Is it valid for a person to expect to be to have an apology if they are hurt? Yes. All of these things, the answer is yes. And if you are questioning it, you're lost in the content. You got to step out of the crackdown. In a universal sense, yes, you have the right to, as a minimum, as a neutral answer to all of the questions, yes. Or fill in the blank. I mean, that's just a great way to like discern, is this okay? Is this wrong? Ask or just in like a simulation sense, a random stranger and a random stranger, would they expect that? Probably. All right. Next tool, a personal mantra. I'm an adult and my beliefs are valid. It's just kind of similar to the last tool, but I think if we are in a negotiation of like dealing with somebody who's toxic, it feels like we don't have the right to expect certain things, or we feel like we're constantly trying to prove it to ourselves by discussing it with people or taking it apart on like a granular level. And if you are a person who's being talked out of your feelings, remember that anyone in your life who cares about you, their goal is to support your happiness. Anyone who is not trapped in selfishness or is not trapped in, unhealth of some kind, they will want you to be healthy and thrive. And I don't mean that like in a, they're going to enable you to buy more drugs, like bad kind of way. I mean, literally, they will want what is best for you on in all terms, including if that were to mean you need to not be with them. Like a person who genuinely loves you and is motivated by love and is healthy enough to be loving will want you to thrive. Period. And that is just the truth. So if a person around you is not celebrating you and reinforcing your happiness, and they are doing something to make you feel lower or disable you, it is time for you to draw a boundary. It is time for you to cut off access to yourself in some shape or form because for any relationship, you want the other person to be happy. Like a good, positive relationship, you want what is best for someone, period. Even if it means you cannot be a part of their life, you want them to be healthy and happy. All right, the next tool, a boundary brush up. Okay, what I know a lot of people, before I did therapy, I feel like I was like, what is a boundary? People would say, like, you gotta make stronger boundaries. I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying. It's like, is that a fence? You want me to build a fence? I don't understand what a boundary is. So I just wanted to give you like this little shorthand version of a boundary tool. You, as a human being, are responsible for controlling access to your mind, body, soul, focus, energy, all of it. You are the gatekeeper for all of it. And if somebody is violating you with their behavior, you have to say, nope, that's not allowed. And you have to, in a loving and neutral and nonviolent way, well, for the most part, nonviolent, detach with love. And what does that mean in practical terms? It means do not allow further access to your time, energy, focus, body, energy, all of it. And that means literally cutting off access. So, not responding to phone calls. Or if you see them on the street, you deflect, you distract, you do not engage. Just like the celebrity on the street, you are nowhere. Your gaze is nowhere. You have no, they cannot interact with you. You do not engage. You are always allowed to protect yourself. And if you have I feel bad disease, if all of those little buttons are being pressed on your brain, I feel bad, I feel bad, I feel bad, I feel bad. You have to teach yourself to tolerate and breathe through the intense guilt, the trigger of guilt. And by that I mean you like hold yourself in a mindful way and literally breathe through it and tolerate it. Practice tolerating guilt. It is intense. It is incredibly painful. I know that that is like one of the most excruciating things to move through is the guilt. It's something we all have to do. We have to teach ourselves to move through it and let it pass. Because that is old. That is very old muscle memory. And it's not hurting another person. It's not mean to the other person. It is not a violation of the other person for you to remove access to yourself. If it's a child, it gets a little murky. But if they're an adult, it is all the same things I just said. It's not your job to make them feel better. If you are a parent You got to take care of your child if you are their caregiver. But this is really about how do I protect myself from being controlled and violated. And if you can draw healthy boundaries and you can teach yourself to tolerate the triggers that occur, what you will find is you have a greater awareness of where your boundaries are in the first place. Because you might not be able to tell where what is okay and what is not okay because you've been violating your own boundaries for a really long time. So there's like this thing that happens where we're like, I mean, I hate all of this, but what am I gonna do? Like you're like, I can't do anything though. It's because we forgot we have power and autonomy. We've forgotten it because we've just been like used and abused and moved and made to do all the things and like we've been a servant for so long that we forget, oh, it's up to me to cut that off and to make it not okay. Like I am the one who doesn't have to pick up the phone. I'm the one who doesn't have to do all of those things. I'm the one that if I don't like the way I'm being treated, I can say, no, you don't treat me in the way I want to be treated. Therefore, you are not allowed in my life anymore. That is all within your rights. And it's not mean. It just is. It's true. That's the one thing I think that's really powerful about boundaries. It's like we think of it as being mean when we're emotionally first setting them. And then on the other side of it, one day you realize it was just the truth. It was a thing I had to reconcile that I'm not mean if I feel a certain way. It's just true. I can't change that. It is just true. So once you can just see it as this is an actual thing. I do want these things and I don't want these things. As soon as you see that as just true, like these things help me thrive, and if I violate that, it makes me die. Then we can just respect it as separate from us. It's not for us to judge or feel bad about. It's just literally the truth. And when everybody's living in the truth, we feel healthy and we feel sustained. Our life force is sustained because we're operating in a place that allows us to feel embodied and thrive and grow and be healthy. Your life will start to look like something that is very energetically healthy. And my next tool, this is going to feel like it's not a positive tool, but it's actually a very healthy one. Write your hate list. I think especially if you are struggling with boundaries and you're struggling with feeling justified in your own feelings, I want you to just know that they're true. They're true. They're not you being mean or selfish. They are just true. So in your journal, I invite you to write down all of the things that you do not like and want, all of the things you hate, and know that that is valid. If they are real for you, and your body is reacting to them energetically with anger, that is defensive energy. That is activating energy, and it is true. And so it's not your job to swallow more. It's not your job to rationalize it more. It's your job to, it's not your job to like make it okay. It's your job to know what is true. I do not like being blanked. I do not like being treated in XYZ way. I do not like feeling or having to do XY. Just know it. It's all true. It's not mean. It just is. All right. And the last tool, if you are open to doing this, I want you to just actualize a goal. Write the truth. Write the whatever it is you want to work toward and know it's true. And second part to this tool, if you feel comfortable, write what I call a ritual promise. And this is something I did when I had before I got divorced, I was in, just the worst, most incapable mental state. I was like, I can't possibly. I felt like so reliant on the partner I was with, and yet I needed to get out of the relationship because it was a very unhealthy one. And I felt like there's no way I can do it. I'm not capable. I'm not mentally solved yet. I am like, I don't want to relapse into all these terrible things. And I just felt like it was impossible. And in that time, my friend Lori Burns gave me this little box that said God box on it, which I hated because it said God and it freaked me out. And I've come so far. But anyway, I wrote on this little piece of paper, I choose to honor myself. I choose to move out of this relationship. I choose to take care of myself, protect myself. I can't remember what else was on it. And I put it in the box. And for me, that was just like, I mean it. That's all it was. It was just telling me, my psyche, and the universe, I mean it. And I'm inviting you to do the same thing. If it doesn't go in a box that says God on it, so be it. If it goes in a shoe box that's got stickers on it, awesome. Whatever it is, just write a promise to yourself that you genuinely would love to keep. And that's this tool. And know that you're already on the path toward that thing. It's real. So that's the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I send you my love if you're in a situation like this. I'm also going to put a link to a domestic violence hotline. I mean, you know how to Google. I just want to put it in there just because I feel like there are certain situations if you are trapped, it's you have to make a safety plan in order to move out of a relationship that is dangerous. Don't underestimate that. Have help if you're going to move out of this. And if you know someone that this episode could help, please share it. And if you don't, I hope it helps you. And in closing, what does it mean to grow? It means to push yourself out of your comfort zone as a habit of just moving through your life and just thinking about that as normal and a sign of something exciting and positive. When we push ourselves consistently and we feel like that area, I now look in that moment of thinking as, oh, maybe I don't want to do this. Maybe like as soon as my brain starts to be excited if something is maybe going to go away, I'm like, oh, that means this thing is really good, if that makes sense. I look for that fear now as a sign of something good happening in my life because it means I am growing into a new area. And so I want you to think about these moments of concentrated effort of a little bit of that, like, fear, butterflies feeling as I am now holding myself in a future state of flow. I am now pushing myself into a future state of joy. That's a good sign. It's a good symptom. So it's really being like able to say fuck the fear. And just and I'm not saying like be scared all the time. I'm just saying like start with just having the intention to grow and don't stop obsessing about the goal, whatever it is. You will get to the outcome you want. You just have to not stop focusing and not stop being conscious on where you want to go. Stay conscious. It's so seductive to go unconscious and just to be in a routine of sameness and not thinking. I'm hiding from the thing. I know that feeling so well. And I have also been in the situation where you're stuck. It's not easy. It's not easy, especially if somebody is dismantling your ability to own your own feelings. It's it's a really hard thing to move out of. So know that you're not weak, you're not stupid. It's really challenging. So just don't give up working on the issue and just lean into knowledge of what your body is telling you. Your body's telling you, I hate this issue. I hate this thing. It's true. You have that feeling. It's activating. It's true. And know that you can have the life you want. And it is at the end of the road that you're walking on now. You can and will have the life and the relationship you want. You can have balance. You can have emotional health. You can have a life that is designed based on what makes you happy in all facets of yourself. You can have a life that makes you thrive and your loved ones can also thrive. And if you're in a partnership, you can have a life with somebody who wants what's best for you, period, whatever that means. So say that you want that for yourself and you're on that road. I send you my love and smile.